So Andrew King here, Canadian Musician Magazine, and thrilled to have the pleasure to be speaking with Kathleen Edwards today from Festival d'été du Québec. Welcome.
Thank you.
Did you just arrive in town today?
Yeah.
Thoughts on the city, if only because this is the reason we're here, and I think that most of the other artists that have had the opportunity to play on the plains here just find it absolutely breathtaking, like such a great space for music.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost embarrassed to say this is my first time in Quebec City. Like, as a Canadian, I think that's kind of embarrassing, actually. This is a really incredible and historical place for our country. It was so cool seeing all the walls of the old, the Vieux City. And yeah, and not to mention, this is sort of where our history was formed, on the plains of Abraham. It's incredible.
Voyageur, we had the pleasure of having you on our cover when the album came out. Congratulations on the Polaris long list nod. I know it's not your first time to that rodeo. Talking to the album, I mean, we covered the creation of the record really well in that piece, or David did. But now that you're playing live, one thing that I really love about the album and about a lot of Justin's work as a producer and musician in some cases is the way he manipulates space and the kind of the ambience that a lot of the tracks on the album have. When you're playing those live, speaking even to tonight's set, do you ever have to make any specific decisions or changes to make that song come off better from the stage, where it's a little more of a rock off the floor vibe than having the chance to be in the studio and really create that soundscape, I guess we can call it?
Well, when I first started rehearsing with my band to tour this record in January this year, it was a challenge to sort of get out of old former patterns and habits. And I think part of why the record turned out the way it did was because I was really ready to go and sort of adventure more into territory musically that I just hadn't yet, and I knew pretty clearly what that was. And then there were lots of times where I knew some of what I wanted to do and then needed help to get to the other side. And then when we started rehearsing, it took a while to really settle into it, and now that we've played a bunch of shows, yeah, these songs, I really didn't want to I did want to keep that space intact. And there's so many layers on certain songs that it was really hard to figure out how to do it justice live, and figure out a way to do it live that's as impactful but can't always be the same. So yeah, there are certain songs that are really fun to play live because they're very different from some of my earlier work. And then some of the earlier work is fun because then you go back to playing stuff that you've played before, and you feel like it's like riding a horse that you've been riding since you were a kid, and it's really comfortable and fun, and you can sort of step back a little bit and exhale while you're doing it. And then the stuff that's new, you're still really focused on doing it exactly as you want. Yeah. Just
considering our audience, it is a pretty stable group of musicians that's been backing you, at least for the touring of this record. I know you had Dan Ledwell, friend of the magazine, from In-Flight Safety, on keys for a little bit, but otherwise it's mostly the same group that you're touring with. Is that right?
Yeah.
When you are, like you were mentioning, prepping material for the road, is it a really collaborative process in terms of each person kind of identifying which parts they're going to take on? Do you find yourself as more of the ringleader, or is it something that kind of comes up really organically?
Well, when I first started writing this record, I hadn't, long before I even met Justin Vernon, I was rehearsing some of these songs with the band, and we spent time really trying to find the right pocket for them. And some of them, like a song called Empty Thread on the record, my band helped me absolutely, like without working on it with a band in a rehearsal, it wouldn't have come together the way it did. It really helped solidify the plan of it. And then other songs we took stabs at, and I went back to the drawing board. And then, when we play live, I think there's a real sense of people feeling like they know what parts they were responsible for. And then, like I said, there's so many layers, and there were so many people who played on this record who obviously I don't tour with. that it's been fun just trying to figure out how to like there's some songs where I play violin and then I put my violin down and I play electric guitar in the same song, which isn't like earth-shattering or anything, but it is a challenge when you're also the person singing everything and you're the band leader, and there are just moments where it's been really fun to try new things, and I think everyone in the band sort of has had the chance to do that.
Aside after tonight's performance, what's coming up for the summer for you? What's keeping you busy? Any plans yet to begin crafting another record, or have you even been putting some ideas down to date?
If you asked me that question a month ago, I would have burst into tears, because I sort of felt like I've made this record over such a long period of time and put so much into it that the idea of moving ahead with something new I couldn't even wrap my head around it. And only in the last few weeks have I sort of started feeling like, okay, yeah, it's time to sort of just, like, I have ideas for the first time, which is nice because it's been almost, a year and a half that I've been sort of fixated on just this work. I think I'm going to do some recording in the fall. We'll see. And yeah. And then my summer is amazing. I get to play Osheaga, which rumors are that it has the best backstage catering of all the festivals in the country. And then I'm going to play Hillside, which is like going home, because I think that's one of the first big festivals I played when I was first starting, like even before my first record came out. I think I played there. And I'm playing a gig at Jackson Triggs Winery, which is really it's in Niagara Peninsula. It's really one of the most beautiful places to go see a show and just get a glass or a bottle of wine in me after the show will be pretty fun. So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I will see you at Osheaga.
Oh, okay.
I am sure some of our staff will see you at the JT Amphitheater, being based in St. Catharines.
Okay.
But until then, thanks very much for the time. Again, the album is called Voyageur, and if I hadn't made it clear, I think it's phenomenal. So,
Thanks.
Thanks very much.